Hey, everybody.
Hello there.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome to SexyNerdScience, Season 4, Episode 13. I was just going to say, I know this is 13. We are very far behind. If you guys have not heard from us in a while, we're all pretty busy. So we apologize, but we're going to jump right back into it like we never were gone.
And then this episode is brought to you by our Audible link, which you can find at sexynerdscience.com/audible, or you can go to audibletrial.com/sexynerdscience. I'm currently reading, I just started today, the Thrawn. The novel, it's a couple years old now. Thrawn. The Grand Admiral.
Age of Tron.
Age of Ultron. Oh man, I think we have an episode title. But that would not be funny because I mean,
it doesn't.
We could call Thranos. By the way, did you know it was like 3 years ago today we saw Age of Ultron?
Yeah,
I got it in my time hop today. But still, getting back onto it, I was starting this new book. It's about the past of Grand Admiral Thrawn. There's a sequel coming out in May that I also wanted to listen to, plus 2 Han Solo books I'm going to try to finish before the Han Solo movie comes out. So we will try to do this.
When does that come out?
End of May.
May?
20-something, yeah. So in 2 weeks, we have Deadpool, that is middle of May. And then after that is Han Solo. So, yes, really excited for that. Drew, do you mind scrolling down real quick? I know we're going to skip one of these stories, I think. Yeah, we already deleted it. Cool. Oh, you're on episode 12. That's why.
I literally clicked on the link that you gave me.
It's all for science, guys. It's all for science.
For whatever reason, Drew was seeing. There we go.
It must be difficult to see from
Thrawn.
Josh and Drew actually sit away from the screen, so
we do sit a little further away.
It's big, but
you have like a 40-inch screen, which is terrible.
See, I don't like that. Like, I have a screen in front of me, like the big whatever, and if I put my monitor, my computer monitor up there, I feel like if it was too far away, I'd have to sit there and focus on it.
That's what we do.
Well,
we kind of have it a little bit bigger than. I mean,
it's a smaller screen, but it's closer than how far you go.
I'll just get you guys Google Glass.
I would love a Microsoft HoloLens. I
didn't say that. I said Google Glass.
I know, but I don't want Google Glass. I want a Microsoft HoloLens. That's beside the point. We can talk about that if you want, Josh.
The first topic thing here. I mean, just to kind of retouch on a story we covered almost a year ago. Was it almost a year ago?
I think so.
Yeah, that's when we had the worst comic podcast ever as our Sexy Nerds of the Month. We were interviewing John Holloway, and I believe we were talking something about something very similar to this, if not the exact same case. I can't remember.
It is the exact same one.
Yeah. So the case of Alfie Evans, the child in the UK that was essentially barred from leaving the country and was given a death sentence by the medical team that was taking care of him against the parents' wishes, has passed away. We encourage you to go back and listen to that podcast from about a year ago, where we had John Holloway on, and we were all talking about it. We had some good debates, and the debates have been re-sparked up again. But we probably, I know me and Drew don't necessarily see eye to eye on a lot of this.
I want to make one bit of peace. I'm not saying that it is something that don't think it is something that should happen. Like, I don't think that they should do, in my opinion, I wouldn't do that experimental treatment. My issue is that I think it shouldn't have been barred from trying if they want to. I wouldn't, because I understand, like, the whole point of the ethics committee is to tell you that it's not ethical, your child may suffer, yada yada yada. But I mean, if the end game for the kid is death, they're whichever. And that's I feel like the couple people I've talked to in person think it's like, oh, I would totally let my kid live for an extra 40 days, for.
I mean, he did. So it has been like a year since this was going on, because there were appeals that went on. And he was essentially kept alive with intubated and feeding tubes and basically essentially brain dead. Yeah.
Medically induced coma. Basically.
It wasn't medically induced. I think it was just actual, like, he was just brain dead.
Oh.
So they were just trying to keep him alive. He was on life support for the last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, my takeaway from this, and without like getting into too much of a debate, is I think that the physicians and the doctors in this case were people of authority that probably knew more than even the parents did about, chances of survival and what was going to happen. And I think that authority in this case should take precedence over the parents' wishes, because I think that the doctors have more say in what should be done medically than the parents, because the parents, actually Tasha tagged both Drew and I in a really good article. The parents they have the burden of unconditional love, which means under no condition are we ever going to give up on our child, which blinds them from some of the things that a doctor has to force themselves to remain impartial and distance themselves from. So I think it was a heavy decision for the doctors to make, but I do think it was the right decision made by the doctors. I do not agree with how people are chastising the medical community that were part of this decision.
See, I don't think it's the medical community.
I agree. I agree with that. I don't think it is. In my stance, and this was part of the last thing I said about it, was if it's the government that's doing it, if it's ultimately the government's decision to follow the medical expertise and say, no, you can't leave the country, and no, you can't seek other medical treatment to those. Then, I mean, the ultimate, in my opinion, the ultimate person or group entity that is in, if you can even say in the wrong, or that I don't agree with, is the government for barring them.
Even the Pope got involved in this. I mean, this was kind of a really hot topic issue over the last year. It kind of fell off the radar a little bit as the appeals trials were going on.
What did the Pope say?
The Pope helped get citizenship for Alfie in Italy.
He was offering the citizenship to be taken care of by the Italian government, right?
Yeah. So basically, they were going to say, so you don't have any issues with getting over here through customs. We'll make you a citizen. We'll make Alfie a citizen of the country. Therefore, he can just come and go because he's still technically travel within the European Union.
How can the Pope make somebody a citizen of Italy?
Didn't do that. It's not like the Pope was like, you're a citizen. The Pope helped get the notification from the Italian government. So then the Italian government granted him, because the Pope still technically has, it's technically a
papal power.
The Vatican is a sovereign nation within Italy, I believe still.
Yeah. It is. It's its own nation. He's the ruler of the country, the king of the country. And also the leader of the church of the country.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on.
That was, just so everybody's aware, that was season 3, episode 26.
Yes.
So
feel free to go back, listen to that. We had some good points there. We also had a guest on the show who also had some very good points as well.
We'll probably put that link down in the description of everywhere we put it.
Yeah. Next up here, we got a couple new endeavors with us going on.
Yeah, well, we definitely owe you guys an explanation for where we've been the last couple weeks. I know we're a few episodes behind even releasing these, but I have been over the past 3 or so weeks starting a new job that essentially, we're pioneering the way for this job to happen in Nebraska. I took a position with a company called OSL, which is retail services. They're a contract retail group out of Canada. They contacted my boss, who is Mark Storm, who was a coworker of mine at Spring Mobile. They contacted him and offered him a position as basically overseeing all of Nebraska's development for this position. And Mark reached out to me and offered me a district level position where I would be in charge of multiple stores, managing the employees there, and leadership development, starting off small at 3 stores, moving to about 6 stores. And then eventually Mark said that, he's kind of grooming me to take his place in charge of the entire region. So then when he gets his promotion, I could be a regional manager and move on to other places as well. Ultimate goal is still to move back to Michigan, where this job has already actually been very successful in Michigan. Some of the people from there I've actually connected with on LinkedIn already, because Mark wants me to move back to Michigan as well, because I told him that's my goal. But basically, I am part of a group of contracted employees that you can see in Walmart now. We have OSL lanyards that we wear, and we'll be hanging out in the wireless department of most Walmarts. A lot of the Walmarts are getting facelifts and remodels. The company Walmart spent $40 billion on remodeling their stores over the next couple of years, to make their wireless department
separate from the...
Not necessarily separate, but distinguished, to make it look more like an actual retail wireless department.
Instead of just kind of like a sidebar.
Instead of just a sidebar where you go and pick up your prepaid phones. So they're making a big transition away from prepaid into postpaid.
Actual contract.
Contract phones. But obviously there's no contracts anymore. But that's why they hired us as contractors to do this, because we were motivated by the sales aspect of it, whereas the average everyday Walmart employee is more just, hey, I'm here to fulfill your order. Whatever you guys want, I'm going to help you with, rather than what we do, try to actually sell a product. So really excited. I can sell all the carriers that I want, that are available in my locations. So I have been learning deals and who's the best carrier for this and that. And I really actually like the job. It's something it's given me a lot of more leadership to it, less responsibilities for things like inventory and like actually opening and closing my own store. It's now more like I come in, I help coach and develop my team. And it's a really good opportunity. I was really glad I was given this chance to do this. And so that's where I've been for the last couple of weeks. And I went to the doctor and had all these health checkups and stuff. But we'll talk about that later. Drew has also been a very busy person.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit about getting that bus, I think, the last episode we recorded. And in doing the tasks that are in hand for that, I kind of picked up a whole second job, power washing quick shops. And I don't know if nobody's aware, another kind of business move, quick shops were bought out by a European company, so they are not affiliated with Kroger or Dylan Kroger anymore.
Really?
Is Quick Shops like an oil change place?
Quick Shops is a gas station,
like a 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven.
Okay. Gotcha.
So Quick Shops were basically Kroger, Dillon's, the people who do Bakers, and Kroger. I think it's Kroger's where Dale's from, right?
Yeah, Kroger is the parent company.
Yeah, so Kroger stores, and they bought out all.
Where Dale's from? Oh, out west somewhere, out east somewhere.
Well,
there's
I Kroger
I get it. I
Ohio,
mean,
too, so
there's just no Kroger in
it's
Nebraska.
Bakers.
Yeah, and then if you go down to like Missouri, it's like Saves a Lot or something like that.
Yeah, so it was all under Dylan, Dylan's Kroger Dylan's or whatever. But the Quick Shops got bought out by a bigger company. They're doing a lot of gas station overhauls. So that's part of that is getting those stores and power washing those stores all clean and everything. But that's an ongoing contract. And then I will also be managing contracts and bringing those in. So any contracts I can drum up for power washing for the for like parking lots and stuff for stores, gas stations, drive-through places, I can drum up business there and get some residual contract money. But
Drew, why do you need all this extra money?
because I'm having a baby.
Oh yeah, you're like, well, it's like 5 weeks,
43 days,
43 days
oh,
away.
dang.
39 as of the podcast for the releasing. Or, the baby might be here by the time this podcast releases.
Yeah, by the time we get this posted at the rate we're going, that's what I was telling.
The baby is 4 months old.
So what's this other bit here though? Oh, and I got a job finishing or making dentures and splints. So if anybody needs any night guards or anything, you can send me a mouth mold. I can pour your splint up.
Can you just get me the teeth like the vampires have from True Blood, where I can just like do like and they flick out? Like,
no, I can't do that.
Oh, sucker.
However, I am gonna do an experimental thing. I'm gonna make a clear bridge for my space in my tooth. So it'll be a clear acrylic space maintainer.
Interesting.
So it'll keep the hole in my tooth, but it'll have an actual tooth in it. So it'll be normally dentures and flippers, which are the one tooth little space fillers, are made out of like a pink acrylic, but I'm going to try and do a clear one so I can just pop it in and leave it in while I'm...
We should do resin.
Is space filler the proper vernacular for that? Because I would assume
space maintainer.
Oh, space maintainer. I would be like spacer would be like just the synthesis and the shortened version of that. But yeah. So this next piece of news that Drew was looking at here was just announced yesterday by the CEO of Sprint, or by the CEO of T-Mobile. Sorry, John LeGreer, I think his last name is. I follow him on Twitter. He's a pretty eccentric CEO. I know we talk a lot about CEOs in this in this podcast a lot. He's one of the crazy ones.
Is he like the guy from what is that movie? Along Came Polly, where he's like doing skydiving and stuff like that. Like,
I'm sure he does. Like he does. Like,
that's that movie, right? Where he's an insurance or life insurance assessor or whatever, and he's trying to get that Cindy Pfeiffer or I don't know, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. No, he so what it is he's CEO of T-Mobile. He basically he posts really weird tweets, and he's like super vulgar sometimes too. Like he'll post something on Twitter and he'll be like, fuck AT&T and Verizon, look what T-Mobile's doing. And I'm just like, wow, that is just really not what you'd expect from
he doesn't say that stuff. He just doesn't say like fuck them. He just shows.
Oh, he totally does.
He just says like, this is the stuff that we're doing, this is the stuff that they do.
No. On like his videos, he has like 4 T-Mobile promotions. Like he literally says like, this is the deal that's gonna fuck Verizon in the butt. Like he says that, and that's why like I kind of was like, I respect this guy in a weird way, even though I worked for AT&T for a long time. He's very big on the mission of T-Mobile to be the uncarrier, to kind of go against what everybody else is doing, which I like as far as what it does for the business. So in a business move, for those of you guys that didn't know, T-Mobile actually surpassed Sprint earlier this year. by being the third largest wireless mobility service in the United States as far as like number of connections that they have. And they just bought number 4. So
Sprint is going to be T-Mobile?
Yes. So they're merging together technically. So I don't know what they're going to do. I think T-Mobile has a better...
T-Mobile?
No, I think
it's going to be Sprint T-Mobile.
I think they might either come up with a new name or just stick T-Mobile, kind of like what Singular and AT&T did. T-Mobile has a better brand than I think Sprint does. When I think of Sprint, people think of the mistakes that they've made by doing kind of crappy networks for the last couple years, really cheap networks, and T-Mobile's kind of got this like cool hipster image to it. Not that anyone who has T-Mobile is hipsters. It's just they're kind of the new thing in a lot of markets.
So let's just do the timeline here. 2015, AT&T buys T-Mobile's debt out.
How'd you know this?
2018, T-Mobile buys Sprint.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't think it was 2015. Was it 2015?
I think it was 2014 or 2015.
It was something like that.
That's the same thing that Delta and Northwest did. Northwest gave Delta the money to clear the bankruptcy of Northwest.
Yeah, AT&T was going to buy T-Mobile,
but then the FCC said no. Now, mind you guys, the FCC could still jump in here and say no go on this merger. Right. And Ajit Pai is the former CEO of Verizon Wireless. He technically could just be like, nope, because I say so, and it could not go through. But Sprint's parent company right now is a Japanese company, and they are good friends with the Trump administration. So they believe that that the administration will probably let this merger go through. So there are a lot of people worried and curious about monopolies and things like that. This would bring the total number of major carriers in the United States from 4 to 3, which, if T-Mobile sticks to their values, will only drive competition better and hopefully bring the cost of phones for all of us down. If T-Mobile decides to have to make some tough decisions to be able to make some more money, because Sprint might be costing them a lot of money, or this whole merger is costing them a lot of money, it will probably just end up being a third option that is just as costly as Verizon and AT&T.
Remember when Alltel was a thing?
I do. I talked a lot about that with some of my customers that come in, even at AT&T. Alltel was an interesting case because Verizon tried to acquire all of Alltel, and the FCC said, no, you can only have this much of Alltel. Yeah. The rest of it needs to be split up between the other carriers. So Sprint got some Alltel customers, AT&T got some Alltel customers, and Singular got Alltel customers.
And then AT&T bought Singular, which meant AT&T got double the Alltel customers.
Just here recently, the FCC said that, hey, Verizon, you actually got too many Alltel towers, so now you need to give those away. So in places
they retroactively were like, oh shit, we messed up.
Yeah. So for instance, in one of the places that was directly affected in our area, Southwest Iowa, was a pretty big Verizon area. But they all got letters in the mail saying, hey, all your contracts have been nulled. You guys are no longer Verizon customers. Feel free to take your phones and service elsewhere.
They just got to keep their phones and they're no contract. Oh, man.
Well, I think they still technically had to like buy their phones from Verizon if they wanted to, or
turn them in
and basically just
they could switch out their number to a new carrier, but they'd have to give their phone back to Verizon probably.
Correct. Or if they just bought their phones, they could take it to another carrier. But yeah, so that happened. But I'm really excited about this. What a better time for me to leave AT&T than when the competition starts heating up.
Now you can sell all of them.
And I can sell all of them anyways. So I don't care too much one way or the other. I think this is going to be a great mid-tier market, and it's actually going to be great for my job. I definitely believe that because, I'm not necessarily focusing on the big wigs who want to spend a whole lot of money on their plans. Walmart's notoriously known for low prices and saving people money. So there's a lot of people that, have been on Straight Talk that need something that's a little better, but not a whole lot more expensive. And right now, Sprint and T-Mobile will definitely be the answer to that. So really excited. Yeah, Dale, you have anything to mention as a T-Mobile customer?
Not really. I think that it hopefully doesn't affect me in any negative way. I don't see it.
Keep the same GSM network, so you should be okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to affect me in a negative way, but I hope it doesn't. But I don't know. It doesn't really affect me that much. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. And what's this all about, Dale?
This is about North and South Korea. I knew it. Once he said North and South, then I was like, oh, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to touch base on it real quick.
Tell us how the Koreans are doing, Dale.
For those of you guys who don't know, I believe earlier or late last week,
Friday,
yeah. North and South Korean leaders met at the DMZ zone. They signed a
treaty.
It's not really a treaty. It's a
non-compete.
No. Non-compete. They signed an agreement that they'd both try to come to an agreement. It's kind of like that. It's that we'll try to make it work. And that's what they signed. So it wasn't anything, binding by any means, but it was definitely a step in the right direction.
It's a divorce decree.
Well, technically, anything binding has to be signed by the United States as well. So that's the other reason why they're.
Wait, what?
Because
the United States is still at war with North Korea.
Oh,
by definition, it's the longest standing conflict still going on.
Huh.
But point is, both leaders stepped in each other's countries, and it's been the first time since the Korean War. And while a lot of people from Republican and Democratic side, or conservative and liberal sides, have different opinions on this, different ways that it could unfold, I don't care how you split it. This is definitely a good thing.
Oh yeah.
I am very happy for it. I don't care if it doesn't lead to anything. It's still something good.
Step in the cardinal direction.
Exactly. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch base on that. I thought it was a unique piece of news that
there's a lot of symbolism to it as well. I mean, so like Dale was talking about, there's videos on the internet where you actually watch. So first of all, I mean, for Kim Jong-un to be out of Pyongyang is a thing in itself. But to actually walk from North Korea to the no man's land area and then across the boundary into South Korea, he is one of the first North Koreans to do that, North Korean leaders to do that.
I was going to say, isn't he like the anti-Trump of leaving Pyongyang or whatever? Like he's only been out of that for like the same amount of time as Trump's been in the White House. He's actually been to China and Russia a few times in the past years. And then a few others here and there, but because Russia and China, mostly China, are friends with them, it's more of a like they need trade from them. That's their main income.
Now, we don't need to get into necessarily the politics of this, but for the people that are curious, there are people on sides of the fence that are saying, oh, this is Trump doing his job. Trump's negotiation tactics have worked, and therefore that's why Kim Jong-un is stepping into this new position because, what Trump was doing was working. Other people are saying, no, this was something in the works long before then. Like this is China doing this. This is South Korea doing this. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the United States other than the fact that like the United States could still ruin this for everybody by not agreeing to the terms, which is something that is possible, but I would hope unlikely. We're not going to soundboard Trump saying China into. Okay, good.
But we also, China is becoming a global leader as far as stepping up to the role. They are not becoming leaders, but they're becoming noticed in engineering, in development with different new technologies all around the world.
Yeah.
And it's something with this, even if China did have a hand in it, I think it's going to be nice. Either way. But I thought I'd touch that base on that.
China.
Thanks.
It takes you so long to do stuff. And I think that's the funny part.
It's such an afterthought.
I love China.
I'm gonna start using soundboards way more often.
I don't know why you haven't.
I know it's gonna be so
we
good.
need a keyboard for him, then we could just like make like the fart noise. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of Bob's Burgers with Gene's like always like using his old keyboard, making like fart noises and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I just think it's really cliche to use soundboards.
Whatever.
Oh, definitely for a podcast too. Definitely.
And especially Trump ones. Like
whatever. Nobody uses Trump soundboards.
We're talking about it. It's funny.
I guess.
Let's move on before Drew ruins it with another one.
To other world-changing events.
This is more I think the next topic is more world-changing than the first one.
It at least affects half the world.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that have been living under a rock, or Drew, who's been working your butt off for the last couple days.
Literally days. I've been working literally 80 hours a week for fucking 4 weeks now.
Yep. So
I literally go home or I go to work at 7:30 and then I come home at 5 and then I go to work at 6 and I don't come home until 2:30 in the morning. I do it all over again.
If only we had a soundboard for the world's tiniest violin. I'm just kidding. But
And I will tell you this, and I said it very strongly.
Well, that's so long. I'm sorry. That was really bad.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what? You're done. You can't do this anymore.
You're not a nice person.
No. The other one. Go down. No, you know what to do. You know what to do. This is what you are right now.
You're fired.
Okay.
Okay, so the next little bit of information we have
Yes.
to discuss is the new Avengers movie, Infinity Wars.
I haven't
And
seen it.
because, like Josh was saying, Drew has not seen it, we will not be reviewing it this week. We will most likely be reviewing it next week, hopefully, if Drew has seen it by then. But we do want to give you guys some little stats of the first opening week, and maybe some things that we can talk about that aren't movie related.
Yeah.
Josh, do you have those up yet?
I do. They're on my phone. I'm just pulling them up right now. So far, and it's so just to point this out, Infinity Wars hasn't even come out in, oh God, we could totally use this again. Hasn't come out in China yet.
Drew, get your hand off the keyboard.
Take your hand off.
It's only funny if you push it at the exact moment you say it.
Hasn't come out in
China.
yet. But
The Mexican government.
I mean, there's actually Mexican things in this news.
How are we doing in Syria?
It's the movie's not in Syria. We don't have to worry about that.
How's the situation in Russia?
Again, movie's not going to be in Russia anytime soon. Captain America doesn't.
Part of the reason I'm here is that I know how to take a joke.
Is this a joke? Is that what we're doing? I feel like I'm just being ridiculed.
Japan.
Nothing. It's not in Japan.
No, I mean, I'm sure it's in Japan.
You're brilliant.
Thank
You're
you.
handsome.
Thank you.
You're rich.
Thank you.
Okay.
Not now.
Okay. So yes, right now they have the biggest domestic opening of all time for $258.2 million the first weekend. Scroll up.
I'm a nice guy.
Thank
Dang
you.
it.
Oh, it's not even in here. I'm looking for the
Josh,
beat.
statistics.
Okay. So it's the biggest worldwide opening of all time. Again, this is not counting China yet. At 382.7 million overseas for a global blast off of 640.9 million, which beat out The Fate of the Furious, which apparently was the #1 movie there. The Force Awakens was also the previous record holder for the biggest domestic opening of all time.
Was it
$1.3 trillion.
Close, Trump, but not quite. Billions and billions and billions. That's what I was waiting for, but I didn't see it up here.
I was trying to find it. I found numbers.
I know, I saw that. But so it was the biggest Saturday of all time in North America. It was the biggest Sunday of all time in North America, beating out Jurassic World and The Force Awakens. The biggest opening of all time in numerous markets. So South Korea was the biggest debut ever. Mexico had the biggest debut ever.
When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. God.
Brazil had one of the largest openings. Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia. It's honestly one of the biggest movies to come out in the history of film. And overall, I think Marvel did a great job of tying up 10 at least Marvel movies leading up to this.
Yeah. We shared Dale just shared the reference chart for anybody who started at Black Panther.
It's a flow chart,
yeah,
it shows you what movies, where they are in the timeline, what comes
there
next.
are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 prequel movies that are all part of the Avenger, or that are all fit into the prequels.
Which is really interesting because as a movie, I mean, we just bottlenecked everything here. So I'm interested to see, so we know Ant-Man's coming out. We know there are other movies coming out recently, soon. Are they going to address Infinity War? Are they going to not address Infinity War? I'm really curious to see what happens in those. But so we're trying really hard not to spoil anything.
So in my opinion, from what I've seen, I think Infinity War it's an ongoing thing. So forget, I haven't seen it yet. So, but from what I've seen online, Ant-Man is not in the movie.
No.
And so there's going to be that side plot there about how him and the Wasp kind of reconnect. But I think that's going to be taking place right up to Infinity War. And if not during Infinity War, but in a completely separate location.
It would be interesting to see. Yeah, I think
they do mention in the movie that, not to spoil it by any means, but they do mention in the movie
don't say the other person, just say Ant-Man.
Yep, Ant-Man was one of the characters who is doing something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the other person.
Okay. We don't want to talk about it because there was a fandom about that. So I thought it was a great movie. I loved how Marvel's been able to bring this whole universe together and not honestly make it, it wasn't just like a mashup of all these different movies. It was a really good movie to see. So one of the things I didn't point out, it's got an 86 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is less than.
You can't give Rotten Tomatoes anything.
I know, but it's
not fan based.
It's less than
2.
It is. It's more than 2. Thank you.
Well, it's a percentage, so it's less than 2.
That's true. But it's more than 2%. But I thought it was a really good movie. Rotten Tomatoes, you're right. You can't give them any credit. Don't listen to what those reviews are saying. I suggest going out to see the movie yourself. Apparently there's still people out there who haven't seen the majority. I've seen posts where people are like, I've only seen Iron Man 1. And I'm just like, how have you only seen in the 10 years?
It's on FXX or, the movie networks all the time.
Oh, it is. And that's what I'm saying.
Most of them, we watched Guardians of the Galaxy on TV the other day at my dad's house. And Age of Ultron was on as well. They're as recent as that on HBO networks and stuff, or Showtime or whatever, Stars.
Yeah. So it's one of those things I can't believe that people haven't seen all the movies yet. but it is really good. But I really also wanted to point out, I like how well everyone's behaving around spoilers on this. They did a good job for The Last Jedi, and I think they did a really good job for this so far. I haven't seen a whole lot of things that it would actually like spoil the movie for me. I know there are a lot of like joke spoilers out there.
Some of them are real.
Yes, I did see that that like someone, like it was some random post and someone just commented the entire like plot of, like, they're like, oh, this wouldn't have happened if he was white, and oh, by the way, and then just completely the whole entire plot.
That's the synopsis of
yeah. And I was like, are you kidding, with all the spoilers and stuff that happens? And I was like,
I got to tell you something. So I watched the movie on Saturday midday. On Friday night, I was going to bed, super excited to see Infinity Wars. I tried to stay off Facebook, but I couldn't. I was restless, so I just scrolled on Facebook for a second. The first post was Tom, one of my buddies, saying something, and I was like, that's pretty close to, spoiling it, Tom, but, I'm glad I didn't miss it. The second one was from also him, and it was one of those memes that had like, oh, check out these spoilers, and it was like the cars, and it had spoiler of a car, spoiler on a car, Batman dies in Infinity Wars, spoiler on a car, and I read that, and I was like, I freaked out for like a brief moment, and then realized it was fake, because DC Marvel. So it scared the shit out of me. I instantly like got off Facebook, and I was like, I'm
the
done.
only thing that the only thing that I've seen, then I'm not gonna allude to who the character was, but I saw the spoiler. It was the same kind of thing, but it was actual character that was in the movie. So I'm not gonna say it because I don't want any reactions from your faces. However, I did see the Fast and the Furious meme that's been going around where it's Dom Toretto in the one car, and then Paul Walker's character, Brian O'Connor, in the other car, and he's like digitizing away because he's apparently dying. And I'm really upset because now I'm gonna, like, as soon as I mean, that for me, that I have a thought in my mind who that is, but so yeah.
Okay, I think if we talk about this anymore, we'll turn into spoilers. So,
All right,
I think we need to move on.
gone.
We must protect our borders from the ravages of other countries.
and spoilers.
Yeah. Protect our borders from spoilers.
All right, so next little bit here is our reoccurring segment, Blind Science.
Yay. I was so excited.
So this is kind of, it's more technical. I don't know, Dale, would you say it's more technical, less scientific, or?
I would say that. I would say it's more technical, but I mean, by definition, I think that's also sciencey.
Yeah. So today we're going to have Josh explain to us cameras. And kind of,
we're going to limit it to pre-digital cameras.
Yeah, pre-digital cameras. So like,
Okay.
camera obscura.
All right. Well, I know that the first cameras were pinhole cameras that were usually where you would put a piece of development film in a completely black thing, box usually, and then you would have just the slightest little pinhole exposure there. And so long as the object was far enough away, enough light will focus through the pinhole exactly on the film on the back of it, a little film. I can't remember what the reaction was. I want to say silver nitrate, but I think I'm wrong. But it was an old school film, very flammable. I know that.
Silver iodine.
Silver iodine, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. But so it was using the pinhole camera. What it does is it literally just takes the photons of light from something really far away. When you have a tiny little hole, what that does is that only allows photons coming directly from that object in that angle to be able to pass through that hole and then develop the image. And it actually does a really good job. So most people's solar viewers for eclipses, you use a pinhole camera technique, where the pinhole casts an image of the sun, and then you look at that image of the sun as the eclipse is going through, so you don't hurt your eyes. Instead of using eclipse glasses, that's one of the ways to watch an eclipse.
It's just so hard to line those things up.
Yes. Newer, more modern cameras after that had things like lenses, multiple lenses being used to focus the image on the film of the camera through an aperture or an iris that would open and close, allowing an amount of light in. So instead of just doing a pinhole, you could open up the iris bigger and focus the light through that more, and have a sharper and brighter image. Most pinhole cameras were dark.
Can you give us a date at around what time both were somewhat introduced?
The pinhole camera, probably early to mid 1800s. I know there were Civil War pictures taken with real cameras. There were even like Old West photos taken with cameras.
What if I told you it was a lot farther ago?
For the pinhole camera?
Yes. Well, for both.
For both? I would believe it. When did they start getting like readily used? I would say I feel like I'm more accurate on that. But if I had to guess, I mean, 1698.
So converging lenses.
Fresnel, right? Does it say who?
Barbero.
Okay.
Is converging lenses. Was 1568 by my
15.
source. Dale, did you get anything else?
So I'm understanding that putting an image on the wall and tracing it out is technically the first camera, which I'm not counting.
So they used to do that through tents. I remember reading about that.
I'm not counting that because that's saying as early as like 400 BC.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say the actual like camera obscura or kind of like the photograph on something. It's pretty much 1600s, 17th century. So that would be the actual, boxes with the image, bringing in photons. But a lot of the stuff you said was correct.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can really add. I guess one of the first cameras, you had to kind of leave it there for a longer time because the sensitivity, the long exposure time, the birth of the aperture, because of the material that it was burning onto, or the photons are hitting, only required moments instead of a long exposure. So you had the difference in light. Then you came up with lenses and apertures, and pretty much everything was on point.
I think Josh did it.
Yeah, three for three, Josh.
Tell us about your calorie intake.
Okay, yeah.
Quickly, because Drew's got to get going.
Sure. So I went to the doctor when I was changing jobs, met with my physician, and he said, Josh, you're going to die if you don't lose weight. Being candid, it wasn't necessarily exactly like that, but they want me to lose weight. So first of all, I haven't been to the doctor in about 5 to 7 years.
Same here.
I am shocked I hadn't gone to the dentist, honestly, for that same amount of time, too. And I got my teeth worked on. Well, I'll show you later. It's actually really nice. But I was shocked by the amount of technology that has increased, even going to see my local physician in the last, less than a decade. So for the dentist, speaking of which, I remember using old film slides that are plastic that I used to have to stick in my mouth and bite down on. This lady, when I went there this time, they were digital. It was a digital mouth x-ray. And I was just like, holy, what? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and that was probably the best part, because my dentist literally a few months before I went to the one where they took it, did an x-ray, and it took a time to do it. And this one was like, the doctor can look him in a few seconds.
Yeah. And
they came on the screen next to me.
Yeah. And he just was looking at him. He's like, oh, cool. Here's this, this, and this. And it was a shorter. So they said, it was actually less x-rays too than they normally do, because the sensitivity of the digital thing, which we probably should have gotten into with thing with the cameras technology, but maybe we'll talk about that next week. So that was really nice. But then smart apps, I think, was something that my doctor, I went in there and they said, oh, do you want to get all your information sent back to you via the app we have? And I was like, you guys have an app? And they're like, oh yeah, all the hospitals do.
All the cool docs are doing it.
So all of my medical tests and things like that, from now until, whenever they stop using the app, I have a record of in my medical app. So I can open it up. I can plan meetings. I can email my doctor. I can email specialists. That's what it was.
Specialists.
Yeah, I was like specialists in fields
in your voice
about the different things. I can be like, hey, what does this reading mean? What does this reading mean? But to be able to check it all from my phone was kind of nice. And then the diet app that he recommended I used is called MyFitnessPal, which uses my smartwatch and the measurements in that app that they took of me to connect with MyFitnessPal to give them my base. Here's what I'm doing right now. Here's my levels in my body.
Because you can import the data from your other app into MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, so it took the data, so it knew like my blood glucose level and like how my heart rate's doing, things like that. And it was able to say, okay, you have a resting caloric intake daily goal of this, and you will lose 5 pounds a month if you just follow this plan here of just the calorie intake and limiting to different things. So it tells me when I'm getting high on sodium, when I'm high on cholesterol.
Getting high on sodium.
Yeah, but it tells me, like, hey, this thing's huge in sodium, cut it out. So I really thought that was awesome, the fact that my smartwatch, my apps, all can work together to help me with my health. And I'm hoping will make things a lot easier. But I think that it is definitely an awesome future for how to treat people. I went in there and I wanted to talk to my doctor. I was like, hey, I want to get a full DNA workup done. I want to get all of my genes mapped, and then I want to be able to have a doctor who I can be like, here's all my gene work. Can you tell me if something is going to be,
23andMe, get out
better for me? And he was like, why would you want to do that? And I was just like, well, wouldn't it be beneficial for you to have the most accurate picture of what my body is like when it comes to diagnosing things? And he was just like, no, not really. So I was kind of blown away by that, because I thought in my head, if I'm a scientist and I want to have the most accurate details, like a full body scan or a full genetic workup of who I'm working on, I can be able to make customized treatments saying oh, you have this gene, which makes you disposed to the effect of this medication better than this medication. So we're going to put you on this treatment. I thought that was, something that doctors could do now.
I think it's more the world of medicine had become digitized, but the world that how the doctors choose that medicine has not. So they don't focus on what you have. They want enough information so they can make an educated guess, but not so much information that they misdiagnose or see something. They have to assuming different things that are generic or that are standard should be allowed in the medical field, or is. I think that's standard.
He basically explained that
no, there's not a cure for
that kind of
congenital brain disease.
Yes. He said that kind of, gene testing and just being able to diagnose and stuff based off genes is still relatively infantile, where it's not really something that they actually have. It's not standard practice to do that yet. In the future, it might be something, every doctor has, I have your entire genetic makeup here that I can test on and work with. And everyone's going to be, geneticist. But he said at this point in time, still he recommends 23andMe would still be a good thing to do to get that full health workup. But he says imagine if they do find some, anomaly in there, and then as they try to treat that anomaly, it just causes more and more problems. Had they not found the anomaly and not done anything about it, probably would have had a better chance of survival had they tried to work on it, because the doctor said, I want to limit how much time you're in a hospital, because hospitals are places of death. the sooner you can get in and out of the hospital, the better. Because I mean,
that's why we're doing a home water birth.
That's where people die. But it's also, I mean, where people go to live and they can save lives. So I don't want to be like, hey, avoid hospitals. It's just one of those things where he was like, I was just letting you know, this could do more harm than good. So we're not gonna do the genetic testing for you. If you want to go out and pay for it on your own, that's fine.
Well, you know what, Josh?
Congratulations.
I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. So now I'm starting a new diet. Hopefully I will lose some weight. I did find out that because I cut sugar out of my diet, I'm at least under 300 pounds, which was a shocker to me when I went to the doctor's office because I thought I was well over 300.
I'd say congratulations.
In fact, when I was with Dale, we weighed ourselves at one of the places in Michigan, and I was over 300 there. So
nice.
I think we weighed in my kitchen or my bathroom, but honestly, that scale is not accurate.
Yeah, I think we did the one in one of the Pewabic bank. The bank there has
yeah.
We did it in there too. But yeah, let's talk about this phallic-looking rocket object that Dale wanted to talk about.
I literally saw this on the Google News articles, and I didn't really read the article itself. All I saw was this picture, and it's literally a picture of Amazon's Blue Origin rocket. And it's a rocket that's kind of competing with SpaceX a little bit. We really don't talk about Blue Origin that much, which we should. I really have no knowledge of it or anything like that. However, it looks like the shaft and head of a penis. And I don't know if that's what they're going for. I don't know if that's penis is more aerodynamic in space.
If the smoke, if they just put two really, really nice
big fuel tanks at the bottom.
Big fuel tanks right at the bottom.
Yeah.
You look like that ship from Austin Powers that looks like
exactly
that whole
like Johnson.
Yeah.
It looked exactly like the big boy thing.
No, not the big
the big boy, the other
it's
one.
the penis.
Oh, gotcha. The penis.
They do all the it looks like a big Willie. And it's Willie Nelson.
And he's like, it's got two balls. And then it's a guy in the baseball
It's like this
field.
whole 5-minute thing. I actually watched that movie the other day. It's a good movie.
The original Austin Powers movie is arguably one of like the best comedic movies ever done. Like it's just
arguably.
I mean, it's not without flaws, but I mean, like it was hilarious when it first came out. Like I wish I was old enough to like,
get the references.
I wish Mike Myers did some more shows. I mean, he kind of stopped.
I think he's talking about bringing Austin Powers back with all the reboots that are coming in. I think that he did a Austin Powers bit,
but he'll do like old school 90s comedy with like new words added into it. Like I'm not trying to spoil anything. Have you guys seen Super Troopers 2?
Yes.
No.
Well, I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, I've already gotten spoilers, but yeah. So the Blue Origins rocket looks like a penis.
But just quickly, Blue Origins, Amazon. That's Jeff Bezos's rocket. Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon.
Nobody cares about Jeff Bezos.
We're
We're Tesla family.
Nobody cares.
To be the world's first trillionaire, and that is one of the things that Blue Horizon does have that Elon Musk doesn't have, is the fact that
$1.3 trillion.
sure, that's where Jeff Bezos is going to end up, and Elon Musk does not have $1.3 trillion.
Is he currently
$9,240 million.
Is that where he's at right now?
Possibly. I have no idea.
Almost at $1 trillion.
What? 9 billion is nowhere close to 1.3 trillion.
Are you talking about Jeff Bezos, like just net worth, or what are you saying?
Like Jeff Bezos is about to be CEO of the first $1 trillion company.
Gotcha.
I mean, Jeff Bezos, I think, is the richest person in the world right now. Oh,
he's 132.8 billion US dollars. Bill Gates is $91.2 billion.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's one of the richest people in the world, but his company is it's either going to be Apple or it's going to be Amazon that breaks the $1 trillion mark first, which is just crazy. But yeah, it's interesting to see what they're doing with the Blue Origins rocket. yeah, we don't talk enough about it. We're more SpaceX guys. This rocket is capable of re-entering and landing itself, just like the SpaceX Falcon 9 rockets are. So the capsule pod at the top, I don't think, or it can detach, but I don't think there's a way to catch that yet.
So the capsule's not reusable.
The capsule's not reusable, but technically neither is Tesla's yet, or SpaceX, until they perfect their technique there, which literally is a giant catcher's mitt in the middle of the ocean.
It still makes me laugh.
I think it's hilarious. I mean, Elon Musk wasn't kidding around. It's just a catcher's mitt being dragged behind a boat.
All right.
But yeah, so I think that's going to be it for our sciencey news today. We'd like to tell everybody to go check out our Sexy Nerd of the Month, Warboy Rainey. She was just at the Nebraska Science Festival, touting reptiles and stuff like that. She is a reptile enthusiast.
And then, as always, you guys can check us out on social media that we have. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe. And also hit the follow button on YouTube.
The notification bell.
And the notification bell. Is that the follow one? I thought that's subscribe.
So when you subscribe and then next to it is the little notification bell.
And then
I don't know why this is the bell.
This is the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Lift up your hearts. Ding, ding, ding. And then you guys can listen to us on our website at SexyNerdScience.com. Hit us up on our SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn, or Podcast Addict. And then you guys can check out T-shirts at our Teespring and our soon-to-be-released, maybe never, Patreon. And then use our audibletrial.com/SexyNerdScience for a free 1-month trial of Audible and a free download of a audiobook of your choice for that first month. So, and anything else we got?
I appreciate you guys being patient with us as we upload stuff a little slower past few weeks, and we thank you for your listenage.
Yep,
Listen
slowing down, just like the Tesla's Model 3 production, but then we're going to get going.
Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
We really do have to get going.